Afternoon draws you into the streets of a larger town. Andorra la Vella, the principality's capital. The stone houses huddle beneath sharp peaks, their windows bright with flower boxes and banners. Shops sell woolen shawls, sturdy boots, carved walking sticks, and cheeses fragrant with mountain herbs. You visit a market bustling with locals, baskets of cherries, wild mushrooms, and honeycomb, stalls of sausages and hams cured through long, cold winters. The air hums with greeting and gossip, the sound of languages intermingling in a gentle, musical swirl. You step into a cafe and order trinxet, a dish of cabbage, potatoes, and pork, fried crisp and golden, served with rustic bread and a drizzle of olive oil. The cook brings a glass of cider and joins you for a while, speaking of the slow change of seasons, the thrill of the first snow, the peace that comes when spring finally warms the valleys. After the meal, you wander up to the Casa de la Val, Andorra's old parliament house, set on a rocky outcrop above the town. The walls are thick with history, treaties signed, festivals declared, decisions made by candlelight and common voice. You look out over the rooftops, the river winding far below, the mountains standing sentinel on every side. As evening nears, music rises from a square where people gather for a festa major, the summer celebration of village and valley. Lanterns glow, musicians tune guitars and accordions, and soon the night is alive with song and dance. You join a circle, your feet learning the ancient steps, laughter and clapping filling the cool air. The night lingers long and sweet, with neighbors and travelers alike spinning stories by firelight. Cakes flavored with almonds and honey pass from hand to hand, cider is poured, and the sky deepens into velvet, spangled with more stars than you thought the world could hold. Children fall asleep on their parents' laps, the village dogs curled at their feet. You walk back through lantern-lit streets, the air alive with the hush of mountain rivers and the occasional echo of laughter. In your small room beneath a heavy quilt, you drift into sleep as the wind sighs around the eaves, carrying the scents of pine and cold stone. Morning brings mist curling above the valley, every blade of grass and cobble beaded with dew. You set out along a river trail, past willows and wild iris, your steps muffled on damp earth. The trail winds upward, sometimes lost among sheep tracks and rocky scree. At a bend, you come upon a stone bridge, arched and moss-grown, its reflection caught in a still pool below. You cross into a higher world of meadows bright, with gentian and edelweiss, where cattle graze and marmots whistle warnings from their burrows. A shepherd waves from afar, and you join him for a time, sharing cheese, crusty bread, and a flask of strong black coffee. The talk is slow, shaded with mountain silences. By midday, the sky has cleared, the sun sharp and golden. You find a picnic spread beneath a cluster of ash trees, slices of fouette sausage, tomatoes glistening with olive oil, sweet peppers, and a plate of coca, flatbread warm from a nearby oven. Wine is poured into chipped mugs, stories passed back and forth in a blend of Catalan and Spanish, French, and laughter. Afternoon draws you along an ancient path, once used by smugglers and pilgrims. The stones are worn smooth by centuries of feet. You pass crumbling watchtowers, their stones lichened and home to swallows, and the faint outlines of shepherd shelters carved into the hillside. Each turn of the path opens new vistas, blue-shadowed valleys, ridge lines gold with broom, distant lakes shimmering in the sun. You stop to drink from a cold spring, water sweet and sharp on your tongue. Villagers say it carries the memory of snow, a blessing on all who pass. You rest for a while in the shade, listening to the distant bells, the calls of jays, the rustle of wind through the beech leaves. As you descend into another valley, a small hamlet comes into view. Houses of rough stone clustered along a rushing brook, their roofs gleaming with slate. Smoke curls from chimneys, and the scent of wood fire mingles with roasting chestnuts and stew. You are welcomed at a long table beneath an arbor, where the meal is slow and abundant. Mountain lamb, potatoes, beans simmered with thyme, sweet cakes, and wine pressed from grapes grown on the sunniest slopes. Night finds you gathered around the hearth, stories spinning in the firelight, tales of ancient kings and saints, of storms survived and lovers lost, of wolves that once haunted these high passes. Outside, the river rushes in the dark, the mountains silent and watch. You wake to the hush of a world held in mist. In the half-light, the mountains are only shadows and the fields glow silver with dew. Breakfast is slow and simple. Fresh bread, apricot jam, mountain butter, and a pot of strong, sweet coffee. You eat at a kitchen table carved by hand, the wood worn smooth by generations. The morning is spent wandering through chestnut forests, the ground soft with fallen leaves. You pass a woman gathering mushrooms, her basket filling with ceps and chanterelles, the scent of earth and rain clinging to her hands. She shows you the difference between what heals and what harms, sharing knowledge passed from mother to daughter. You follow a narrow path that rises sharply between boulders and birch, coming at last to a high pasture. Goats graze, their bells chiming softly in the breeze. You sit on a sun-warmed rock and look out over the valley, the river curling like a silver ribbon, the villages scattered in the folds of green, the sky wide and patient above. Noon brings you to a solitary hermitage perched on a cliff edge, its stone walls bright with moss and wild thyme. Inside, the air is cool and filled with the hush of prayer. You light a candle, feeling the weight and peace of so many hopes left here before you. Descending again, you cross a wooden bridge and enter a village in festival. The square is bright with banners, the smell of roasting meat and sweet pastries heavy in the air. Musicians tune flutes and drums. The first dancers take their places, their skirts swirling, their steps sure and joyful. You join the celebration, clapping along as children sing in Catalan, their voices carrying through the valley. Elders share glasses of ratafia and tales of days when snow blocked every road and only the fire brought comfort. You try your hand at a folk dance, laughter rising as you stumble and spin. The afternoon stretches long and golden. You visit a craftsman's workshop, watching as he shapes wood into spoons and bowls, each piece smooth and shining. His wife weaves baskets from willow, her fingers moving quick and sure. Their daughter braids wildflowers into your hair, her hands gentle and shy. You walk to the edge of the village and climb to a meadow where bees move through lavender and thyme, the air sweet and alive. Here, a beekeeper opens his hives, offering you honey warm from the comb, thick and floral on your tongue. He tells you of the seasons, of how the flowers shift from spring to autumn, changing the flavor of each harvest. Evening brings the whole village together for a feast beneath the stars. Tables are set with roasted trout, wild boar stew, beans, greens, and almond cake. Wine flows, songs rise, and the laughter of children rings clear into the dark. As you walk home in the quiet, the mountains glow faintly under the moon, every path and stone etched into memory. Your journey leads onward to the highest passes, where the world is sharper, emptier, more wild. The road climbs through scree and alpine meadow, snow lingering in hidden folds even as the valleys bloom below. You pause at a mountain lake, water pure and cold, the sky reflected deep and blue. Wild horses graze nearby, manes tangled by the wind. You share a picnic with a group of hikers. Slices of cured ham, wedges of sharp cheese, tomatoes bursting with flavor, a rough loaf of bread torn by hand. The talk is slow and cheerful, stories shared in a dozen languages, laughter echoing across the water. Climbing higher, you find the ruins of an old watchtower, its stones lichen-clad and battered by centuries of wind. A shepherd's dog barks from below, the sound carried up the slope. You stand for a while in the sun, letting the silence stretch, the horizon vast with promise. Descending toward the valley, you pass fields bright with poppies and vetch, the air heavy with the drone of bees. Villages appear, tucked in folds of land, each with its chapel, its plaza, its cluster of slate roofs. In one, you're welcome to a family table for calcetada, grilled spring onions dipped in Romanesque sauce, platters of lamb and rabbit, bowls of beans and rice, laughter and talk flowing as easily as wine. As evening falls, the sound of bells drifts down from a monastery perched high above. Monks chant vespers, their voices weaving through stone corridors out into the fading light. You sit in the plaza with neighbors, sipping herbal tea as the sky darkens, the first stars appearing above the mountains. You spend your last days in Andorra wandering old paths, up through forests golden with beech leaves, down to valleys green with meadows and alive with a flicker of water and wildflowers. You visit small museums filled with the tools of farmers, shepherds, and weavers. You trace your finger over maps where every village, every mountain pass, is named and remembered. You pause at a wayside shrine, leaving a coin for luck and a whispered hope for safe travels. Children ride bicycles through the quiet streets. Elders sit in the sun, playing dominoes, their hands gnarled and steady. The bells of the church mark time, the days turning gently. On your final evening, the whole village gathers for a farewell. A meal of roasted pork and potatoes, honey cake and thick hot chocolate. Glasses are raised in thanks and blessing. Songs are sung and stories told until the fire burns low. You take a last walk beneath the stars, the air cool and clear. The rivers sing softly, and the mountains hold the night in patient arms. Every path you have walked lingers behind your eyes. Every kindness, every taste and sound and smile becomes part of the quiet you will carry home. As our narrated discovery of Andorra comes to a close, we hope this journey brought you a sense of stillness, wonder, and gentle joy. If you enjoyed exploring with us, please consider subscribing for more poetic journeys to the world's hidden places. Leave a comment if you have thoughts, suggestions, or a country you'd love us to visit next. And if this brought you a moment of calm, a like would mean the world. Thank you for exploring gently with us. Until next time. Welcome to a narrated discovery, the channel where we wander slowly, listen deeply, and explore the world's hidden beauty, one country at a time. Today we journey to Andorra, a secret kingdom in the high Pyrenees, cradled between France and Spain. With just under 80,000 inhabitants, it is one of Europe's smallest and highest countries, a land shaped by mountain, snow, and sun, threaded with old rivers, and bright with the colors of wildflowers in spring. Andorra's soul is woven from Catalan roots, Romanesque chapels, the heritage of shepherds, smugglers, and monks. Most people here are Roman Catholic, but you will find traces of French Protestant, Orthodox, and even Jewish traditions. Cultures cross and blend: Catalan, Spanish, French, Portuguese. Here, faith is not only in the stone churches, but in the rituals of fire and feast, of hospitality and the old ways. Let the world fall away for a while. Step with us into the hush of high valleys, where every path is lined with history and every sunrise seems new. Wander among slate-roofed villages, silent peaks, wildflower meadows, and the song of the river, and discover the gentle heart of Andorra. Imagine yourself arriving before dawn, the air thin and cold as blue shadow drapes the valley. The mountains tower in silence, their slopes quilted with fir and beech, the first light just brushing the highest peaks. Your breath clouds in the morning chill, mingling with wood smoke rising from ancient stone chimneys. You step out onto a quiet street paved with slick cobbles, your boots echoing in the silence. Geraniums bloom in window boxes, icicles hang from slate roofs. The river, snow-fed and restless, rushes through the heart of the village, its song the oldest music in the world. You duck into a bakery where the lights are golden, and the scent of bread and pastry is warm and alive. "Bon dia," the baker says, offering you a soft ensaï mata dusted with sugar and a thick mug of coffee. You eat at a table by the window, watching the first shepherds drive their flocks up toward the snowy heights, bells ringing through the stillness. As dawn unfolds, the valley begins to stir. Farmers tend their small fields, turning the dark earth with slow, sure hands. In gardens, bordered by stone, grandmothers snip herbs for soup, the scents of thyme, sage, and mint brightening the cold air. Children hurry along narrow lanes, scarves pulled high, their laughter rising like birdsong. You follow a winding trail out of the village and up into the mountains. The path is steep, stitched with the tracks of fox and deer, edged by beech and fir. Each breath brings the scent of resin and melting snow. You climb in silence, stopping often to look back. The valley glows green and gold. Villages strung along the river like beads, smoke curling from each roof. Mid-morning finds you at a high pasture, open to sky and sun. Sheep graze among rocks and tufts of wild grass. Their bells form a gentle music. The shepherd, wool-capped and smiling, invites you to share a breakfast of mountain cheese, rough bread, slices of sweet apple, and a glass of cider, cool from a stone spring. You sit together on a flat rock, watching clouds drift and sunlight move over distant peaks. After breakfast, you wander higher, your path lined with broom and gorse bright with yellow blossoms. Marmots whistle from hidden burrows. An eagle glides overhead. You reach a ridge where the wind is sharp and pure, the world spreading away in waves of stone and green. You pause at a lookout marked by an ancient cairn, stones piled high by countless hands. The land falls away to deep valleys, forests stretching like green rivers, patches of snow gleaming on the highest peaks. Below, the sound of a stream rises, mingling with the faint song of a distant bell. You sit for a while, letting the silence settle in your bones. As the sun climbs, you follow a shepherd's path down to a cluster of stone barns where cows graze in meadows alive with wildflowers. The air is thick with the scent of clover and sage, the drone of bees, the flicker of butterflies in every shade of blue and gold. You're invited to share in the milking, your hands warmed by the cow's gentle breath, laughter bubbling as the pail fills with sweet, foaming milk. A farmer's wife brings fresh cheese, drizzled with honey, and thick slices of walnut bread. You sit at a table beneath an ancient walnut tree, the shadows dappled and cool, the talk gentle and unhurried. She tells you stories of long winters and deep snows, of summer nights bright with fireflies and laughter, of festivals where the whole village comes together for song and dance. By midday, you return to the valley, passing through groves of chestnut and birch, the ground soft with last year's leaves. The road leads to a Romanesque church, its thick stone walls cooled by centuries of mountain wind. You step inside, where the air is still and scented with beeswax and old prayers. Faded frescoes tell stories of saints and miracles, their colors softened by time. You light a candle, leaving behind a wish for safe travels, for peace. Outside, the bells ring out the hour, calling villagers from fields and houses. Lunch is served in a small inn, hearty escudella simmered with meat and beans, potatoes and cabbage, and a carafe of robust red wine. You share the table with strangers who quickly become friends, the conversation weaving between Catalan, Spanish, French, and laughter.